All right, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and of course, video game industries. I'm your host, Kurt Sasso, and of course, you can find all of these shows, 800 plus. I haven't counted in a while, but you can find all of these shows at tgtmedia.com or twogeekstalking.com. And that's the word two, not the number two, or else I will find you, and I have a particular set of skills, and I will kill you. But that's beside the point, because we are joined today by a very talented group of people. I've had Howie on the show in the past before. You've known, of course, his work from Terranormal, which is terranormalcomic.com or terranormal.com. I was confused. Howie, his wonderful wife, Shelley, and of course, Victor Guest, who is the musician of this amazing comic called Float, which is at yourglassceiling.com. How are you guys doing today?
Very good.
Doing great.
Bit of a long-winded intro, I know, I apologize, but let's just jump right into it. Howie and Shelley, Howie, I've had you on the show in the past many times. It's always been a fun time with you on the show. When you sent me an email about Float, about this new project they had, because I know you hinted at it at our last conversation about a year or two ago. What came about it, and what's going on with it now?
We are ready to launch the Kickstarter, so it's the culmination of this, I guess, lifelong project. A year ago I started making the art to Float, and so it was in April of last year I really started to put pen to paper and create this graphic memoir about anxiety. And along the way, I've learned a lot more about my personal battle with anxiety, why it's happening, and all this stuff. So it's been a year of exciting discovery and also a lot of fear and more anxiety as a result of, really focusing on this subject. And we've, together with Shelley and Victor, we wanted to create a multimedia art project. So it is a book, but it's more than that. It's really an art project dedicated to anxiety. And we hope it helps people that read it. We hope people that have had their lives affected by this awful thing, we hope it inspires them. And really, I'm ready for it to launch. It launches Monday, May 1st at 10 a.m., which as of right now, as we're talking, is very soon. So it's like we're in labor. We're ready to give birth,
Really long labor.
I need an epidural.
That's called vodka, Howie.
Yeah.
There you go, even better. So Shelley, going over to you now here. Talk about your, obviously you're an amazingly talented person yourself, and Howie's talked great lengths about you. So I'm glad I can finally meet you. And what is your involvement with this project?
Well, I'm married to him, so I live with him every day. So I've seen. No, it's been an adventure. And when I met Howie, I wasn't really into comics in any way. I mean, I was always into entertainment, movies, things like that, television. But the minute I met him, he opened me up to like a whole new world of comics, which we've just had such a great time participating in, like cons and selling his work and watching him produce the work. So this is kind of the surprising when he announced it, but logical, I think. Next up, he's kind of gone a lot deeper into his own psyche on this project than he's done, I think, on a lot of others, and probably a lot more painful along the way. But I think that from all of the feedback we've received, and from our editor who's been looking at the book, and friends who we've shown samples to, and Victor, and working through the music and making sure those two things connect, it's been I think really good. I'm just floored by how people are reacting to his not just the sample pages that he's putting up, but the blog posts he's putting on the website. We had this whole breakthrough moment section where it was part of the launch before we had really anything on the site. We were just kind of asking people to share, you know, moments where they've sort of discovered something about themselves and how they can overcome difficult times, whether they have anxiety, whether it's, you know, something else, depression. We've gotten a lot of PTSD people, and just their reaction to, I think, somebody just coming out and saying, I'm willing to talk about this, has been just humbling and really touching. Some of the stories on our site are just, they're sad, they're happy, they're really, really amazing what people have been through and what they're willing to open up about. It's been so great, honestly.
Victor, in terms of, is this your first time working in the multimedia aspect, and what attracted you to Float?
It was absolutely the first time I worked in a situation like this. It's a rare thing where a story that's coming out in book format is actually going to have a soundtrack to it. I mean, that's usually left to movies, but it is a I guess somewhat of a brave attempt to do something a little bit different, but for an absolutely good cause. I mean, the whole idea was truly a tribute to Howie and to his story, to his and not just his book story, but it's his life story. It has an amazing feel to it from the beginning, and everything he shared from the start was just something that I was attracted to, and yeah, it is absolutely something different. It is different from the start, and hopefully the music sounds, I don't know, different. It is going to sound, well, let's put it this way. I know it's going to sound different. It's not your regular rock album or rock opera, but it is a loving tribute to a friend's life and his struggles through what I think so many people, but I know that so many people struggle through.
Well, talk about then sticking with you, Victor, for a second.
Yep.
In reading the first, seeing the first page or reading the concept of this thing, what immediately struck you in terms of a creative person?
It was the honesty. The honesty that came from it. It was the and bravery sounds like such a strong word, because it's it gives so much empowerment to a person who sometimes it can be so weak and so hurt. And but there is a bravery to being able to, for someone who does suffer from a condition, and especially a mental condition, to be able to come out and say, I've got this, it hurts, help me through it, help me. It's not a solution. It's not saying I have a solution or I figured it out. It's more like, what can I do? And to be able to just do anything for it, whether it be putting music, whether it be drawing it out, whether it be just writing words and saying, this is it. This is what I can do. I can tell you about what I have, and maybe I can help you through it. I mean, that's what attracted me to it, and that's what drew me to it, because it's tough. I mean, life is tough. It's not a simple thing. I think, especially nowadays. I mean, I go on Facebook all the time, and I see more talk about anxiety and people just really sharing some stories about their tough times, and this is something that really can touch a lot of lives, and hopefully we've done something that can reach out and just in different formats, in art, written word, music, and hopefully the social media will catch on and do something for it, so that it can really touch more people's lives.
For sure, definitely. I've been following the campaign, or I should say I've been following you, Howie, for a while. And when you first talked about this, or at least when you briefly gave me the concept a while back, I was interested. I've always loved your art style. So to put something this personal out there is I'm sure it was a challenge to you, but I'm sure in a sense it was a relief to finally get it out there.
Well, first, thank you for the compliments. I greatly appreciate that. I always put something personal in every book, but, you know, and hide little things in there, but it's pretty raw, what I'm putting out, but I'm still hiding. And you can catch me in the story and you'll see me hiding, because that's my general nature, is to hide and maybe make up a false story. Reality cracks in this book, and you'll see me and what I'm going through. You just have to weave through, you know, the story I'm taking you through. You have to go through my mind, and the journey it's going to take you is like an anxiety attack that I go through. You know, with the past, with if you have hurt in your past, and mental pain or abuse, you're going to make up stories to make it seem better. At least that's what I do. Make up stories and, oh, it wasn't that bad. It's not that bad what you're going through. You know, other people have it worse. So you're going to see a lot of that in the book, that that there's a bit of a fantasy and it gets broken down and you see the truth. And I really hope that people, you know, can relate to it. It's a very, very unique story, from the art to the writing to the fact they use poetry. So it's not, I can guarantee it's not like anything anybody's seen or read. And that's what I wanted to do, something new and challenging and scary, you know, and it's still scary. I have 14 pages left to illustrate, and it's terrifying me. So I'm running on zero sleep and frantically hitting. And the fact that I'm, you know, we're all dealing with anxiety on the project. We're all trying to stop this monster and fight him so that we can expose, you know, what he's done. So, you know, as we near the launch, he's fighting back, but we've got him this time.
Being another creative person like yourself in tandem with Howie, as it is, how have you worked through or worked with Howie and his anxiety through this comic?
So I think, setting anxiety aside, we are both type A's, and we're both very creative in very different ways. So from the minute we met, we were immediately creating things together. Our first true collaboration was my college thesis. We made a zombie horror film, and he wrote the script, and then we shot it on location where I grew up, which is where the original Night of the Living Dead was filmed.
Nice.
Victor did the music.
And Victor did the music. Oh my gosh, full circle. And that was how long ago?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was 2001.
You don't want to scare away the kids.
So,
kids, this just happened. We're new like you. Check out Float. We're young.
So, very quickly on that project, I realized how hard it is, because not just you know, the anxiety side, but just the personality side and the creative side, where we both have these very intensely creative ideas and we both want them to be our way. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of fighting that goes on. But we understand that, you know, it's usually pretty heated, and then we get to a better place in the end, which, as long as you can come to a compromise and agreement, you're going to get to a better place. I think that's just the creative process. If it's easy, it's not good. So on this, you know, it wasn't much different. There was still some fighting over really silly things in some cases, over really, you know, important things in other cases, but we always get to a better place. And, you know, I was working on the website with him, and then now he's populated it so much with really, really beautiful blogs about his feelings and the artwork. And I think that that's just kind of a life lesson in general. And when we throw the anxiety into the mix, and through the years, how it's actually, I think it got sort of worse, and we hit a bell curve, and then it's kind of, we've learned not just what it was, right? We didn't even know really that it was an anxiety, or really what anxiety was early on, years ago. And, you know, once we kind of figured that out and he got diagnosed, it became a lot, started to get easier, and it's a learning process there too. So trying to figure out the difference between the sort of the creative side of things, where we're just having these kind of creative differences, and then layering the anxiety on top of it, is where it gets a little cloudy or dirty, and hard to recognize how to get through this, because the anxiety side is very different. Like, the anxiety doesn't want you to come to an easy or happy ending. The anxiety is going to kick in and continue to try to make things a lot harder by sort of feeding him misinformation almost, you know, like we've kind of figured that out. So it took me a while to kind of decode what was going on, and how to not just figure out how to interact with him from my side, but also what's going on in his head to help him. But I think probably over the last 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years, we've really started to figure things out better. And so I think that there's always, like this growth that's happening. But
Good stuff. Good stuff. No, I like that. That's being a Type A myself, I can completely feel where you guys are coming from, and it's that's probably why I've been solo doing this for 8 years, because it's hard to give control away.
It is.
Back to Victor, and besides doing music so long ago for these people, have you had to deal with any conditions along this line that you had a breakthrough with?
I would say personally, I think everyone struggles.
Yeah.
I think there's a level of commitment that everyone puts into life that you're gonna want something that's gonna be hard to accomplish, and you're gonna have a hard time getting there, and it's gonna be tough. Saying that's not necessarily, I guess, something that's a struggle of a mental illness, and I grew up in a household that was very tough. Mother and father who were just, I don't know. The best way to put it is they were, I guess, abusive, and it came from their own mental struggles, their own illnesses that made them that way, and that caused them to try to inflict that on others. The story touches on that because it's everyone's a bit of pain that they have to carry. I don't know. I guess I said too much, I suppose. That's something that I didn't want to say, but it was an abusive thing, and I think that I've always wondered what my parents were dealing with, and it's not something, someone who struggles with mental illness is someone who's going to probably hurt other people as well. So I mean, it touched home.
Does music help you though?
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that it's just, I mean, any form of art obviously is gonna be something that you can put your inner soul into, your quiet thoughts, your private thoughts into, and music absolutely is one of those things that I've done for so many years that absolutely helps the situation, that allows me to just put put my strength and my best foot forward into something positive that can probably, I guess, make that turn of what was bad and turn into something good.
Stuff. I love music in general, and so for me it's always been orchestral pieces, since my mom taught me how to play clarinet and all that stuff. So it was one of those things where you kind of gravitate back towards a happy genre or happy moment, I guess it comes from. So yeah, I can understand that. Moving on to Shelley then. Animated shorts, animated films, yes, that I did see. They were extremely well done. Bravo. Talk about that.
Well, I wanted to be an animator when I was young, but then I realized I couldn't draw well enough to actually be one. So thank God for the computer age.
Yeah.
And Howie's artwork, which we can have fun with. So that was done in After Effects. Even if you're, sort of limited in your knowledge, After Effects, you can get some pretty cool stuff done if you have some nice pieces of art to start with, obviously. So we actually created an animated trailer for Mr. Scoodles way back when. That was the first one. And we've tried to use it whenever we could. And I don't even remember how we got to the whole, let's make 5 animated trailers. I think, given this whole sort of social media era that we've entered, in the last, say, 5 years, And there's just so many concepts in this book that are kind of self-contained in a really nice way. I think we were kind of like, I really wanted to make a lot of sort of social stuff that we could share in cool ways that was more than just posts or images. And so we kind of sat down, and I don't remember even how we concepted them. I think you just kind of came up with them. You were like, yep, this is what we're going to do. And we spent a weekend creating them. And then Victor, of course, composed wonderful music to put to each one. Some more collaboration. I think that's been part of the fun of this whole project, is just passing between the three of us, the different pieces and parts and creating together a lot.
I've loved the campaigns. I've loved the Facebook posts that you guys have been posting, and the animation's always been, it really struck me as, one of those wow factors, like, this is awesome. This is something I'd love to see more of. So, good on everyone there in that aspect. Talk about some of the characters then in this particular book, because I figured it's about time we got to the characters.
Float is told through the perspective of 3 characters that represent my personality and my life. David is a superficially attractive Hollywood type of star, so that I could avoid drawing myself over and over again, and also playing a part of that, those issues inside of me where I don't want people to see me, and I think they'd rather see somebody that looks like David, and I think they maybe could sympathize more with him because he's so good looking, and that's what's been sold to us. That's what's marketed to us as a culture. Somebody like him, somebody good looking. But he also goes through this problem because, anxiety and mental illness doesn't care what you look like, or how straight your teeth are, or how many abs you have. It doesn't care. You can be attacked by it just the same. So that's David. David will go through this fictional story, but he's in my life. He's an artist who's struggling. He has anxiety. He goes to a therapist. He's lost loves. He's lost jobs. He has to work from home because he can't work anywhere else because of his mental illness won't allow him to. He can't deal with it. And he's really at a point where he needs to get help and try something new, Then we have the worm. And the worm is also David, and the worm is also me. The worm comes up to illustrate parts of the life that I feel David can't. The worm is the lowest of us. He's the inner nature of us. He was once beautiful. He once had wings, and then madness caught him on fire, and he fell. And he's this sad, cute little creature that I can plug into the book to tell certain parts of my life that, once again, where I'm not comfortable putting myself in. And then I'm in the book, and you will see that's when I ran out of ways to pretend. I ran out of ways to shield from it, and my barriers got broken down. So you'll see me in there too.
Now that it's out there, now that you're going with the Kickstarter campaign, now that you're fighting anxiety head on, and it's literally head on and for the world to see, is it making it easier for you?
It's giving me a lot more insight. I mean, I've learned an extreme amount. I tried to fight revealing stuff, and I really did, and I was like, oh, it shouldn't be in there, it doesn't need to be in there. And Victor and Shelley would help me, remind me, that's what the point of the book is. You're not doing this not to reveal this stuff, you're doing it to put it out there. And it's tough. It's it's unusual to reveal this kind of stuff, and it's scary because there is still a stigma. There's a stigma attached to saying you have this, even though 40 million people in the world have anxiety and battle it, and this is generalized anxiety disorder, which it's just constant. So I think just coming out and being more open, hopefully will give others the chance, will inspire them to do the same, because that'll help explain why, you know, maybe you don't have the friendships anymore, or you don't have relationships, and why did you lose that job, and, you know, and why there's such awkwardness, and it's not your fault, you know. So we're all hoping that this, you know, helps people, because it's helping me, and I just really wanted to help others.
And I think it will. It truly will, because, like you said, everyone, in some form, from just in speaking with everyone here, is dealing with something along that line, or a version of, you know, their own inner workings. And you know, I'd be remiss to say that if I haven't gone through similar aspects of it in doing this stuff, and not to take away from what this book is about, but, you know, in reading through it, you know, I'm seeing a couple of things that maybe I didn't have a name to. So I appreciate, you know, at least reading what little I have, and I can't wait to help support the campaign and, you know, see more of it, because that's what I want to see. So there you go. Everyone has this one or two people that kind of inspired them on their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
Oh boy. I'm terrible at this. I had a former creative director at my job that was really, really hard to work with, but incredibly inspirational. It was one of those people that is just, there's genius in there, and you can tell. And sometimes, I mean, I think we all recognize that sometimes there's just not room in your brain enough for like the genius and the easy part, like the socially easy part. I think that person has actually been an inspiration to me, because she taught me never take anything at face value, always ask questions, dig deeper, to find, you know, the sort of human truth in things. And I think that that's kind of how I try to approach the world, and not just live in my own headspace, but try to live in everyone else's, in Howie's, and, you know, Victor's, if we're working with Victor, to figure out, you know, what are they trying to communicate? Because I think when you stop and listen and watch other people, you can learn so much from them. And so I guess that would probably be one of the most inspirational people so far. And then Howie's kind of like that too to me. I'm like, not to like get all like, oh, this is about him.
Gotta pay her.
Seriously, I mean, there's just this, you know, inner artist that never quits. And, you know, I've always kind of struggled with like my own idea of how creative I am or not. And, you know, am I like really, really unique and different, or am I kind of just like this okay creative type person? But I think that I see just this kind of like genius in him in so many ways, and just this drive. Like he was born to do something, and he's just never going to stop. And I think just that kind of a thing, that like you just can't help yourself from just keeping on going for what you want to go for, is also very inspiring to me.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Love it. I like that answer. That's really good. Victor.
Want to live up.
Yeah. And now Victor. Okay. Inspirational people.
Well, inspirational is it's kind of tough. I would say impactful, and inspirational in a strange way. My father, which might make Howie laugh, because he and Shelley, because they both met my father. My father was a very unique person. I would absolutely have no fear in saying what a terrible man, but absolutely artistic, and he tried to instill art in me as much as he could. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me, because he was in a strange way so damaging in my life in so many ways, but he really tried really hard to instill art in my life. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be a musician, I wouldn't be an artist, I wouldn't be artistic in any way if it wasn't for his kind of crappy sort of existence.
Okay. I have no context for that. So moving on to Howie.
Yes. You'd have to see his puppet.
Is there a
And
puppet?
he did have a puppet.
He had a puppet, and it was frightening.
Yeah.
I don't think. I wish I had it because it was
Or a
just
picture,
amazing.
if only. If only smartphones
We
had been
did
around
draw
in
it
those
once.
days.
We drew it for memory
Yes,
once. It was
I remember.
frightening. It's a very unique story. Maybe that's the next book we do.
Things that frighten us?
Puppets.
Oh, puppets, yeah. Next to clowns, same thing.
Yeah.
It's the puppet that Stephen King's used to scare the children. It wasn't actually him. So.
What gets you in the drainage pipe?
Exactly, yeah. Origami paper. Origami boats. There you go. The bane of all sci-fi horror films. In reading over the stories from the people that post them on that you get from people that have experienced float and from the website yourglassceiling.com, is there any inspirational people or like-minded people that you find that affirm everything is going to be all right eventually?
Everyone that has sent in breakthrough moments to the site has inspired me greatly because it told me I'm doing the right thing. It's okay to share this because these people want to share, and the stuff they were sharing was incredibly personal and painful. And I mean, it was like, oh, this is real. You can't falter. You got to stay the course with your own story and tell it, because this is what the whole point of it. I can't gloss it over. Do some kind of fairy tale-esque thing with it. We got to get to the nitty-gritty. So in addition to that, I have a friend, Patrick, I talk to all the time. He goes through the same, he goes through, not similar, but he goes through battling with anxiety and depression and mental illness in general. He gives me a lot of feedback. He helped keep me truthful on this. He helped. Don't want it to be false. I don't want it to be false. I want people that also have to go. He's got it. He's being true to this story. And also, no joke, but working on this with Shelley and Victor, as I said before, is the biggest inspiration for me, because I don't usually have a team. I'm usually alone doing all these things, and then I'll have Shelley come in and try to help me with, make it into a book. But we work together on this, and it's tough. We've had a couple creative arguments, but never, and I'm more open to saying you're right. Because I wouldn't normally do that. I'm very bullheaded, but Victor's also been so strong and so inspirational in the fact that he's saying, this is your story, this is what we're doing, because I want to push it to be the album. I know I pushed it to be the album for the forefront, and that goes to me wanting to hide again, and which is weird because I'm like the one that does the interviews and stuff like that, and my name's on the book as creator, but I was like, we really got to push this album, and he's like, no, this is about your book and your story, and I guess because we all want to be rock stars, but I do. But but I don't play any musical instruments. So that's why we have Victor
You
here.
sing a mean hungry like the wolf.
I do karaoke.
Yeah.
Which, I'm a bit pitchy.
Doesn't matter. Your theatrics.
We may have to get you to sing that at the end of the show.
Oh, that'll be maybe if Kickstarter gets all its goals. Maybe
closing song. There you go.
Final stretch goal.
That's not kind to people. But that working, because we've written little songs before, with Victor. But what I wanted out of this was a full art project we fully worked on. That's special, unique, and it's just going to be a fun experience for people, and it's going to tell this, like, when he shares, his inspiration and stuff, and that darkness that's in our lives, I got similar stuff, and you know, you don't want to. It's so refreshing to admit that some of the bad stuff that's happened to you or the bad things you've done can be turned around for good, you know, and can be shaped into art, and then it can inspire people. So, you know, the point of life is, yeah, you're going to make mistakes, I think, but you learn from them. I make mistakes every day. But the hope is that one day at the end, I'll finally figure it out, you know, and learn from it and stop doing the same thing. And a lot of that float will deal with that. I haven't learned it yet, spoiler. But
I don't think we ever learn it.
But
lifelong
you know,
lesson.
it's about, I want to stop banging my head against the wall. That's what I want in float. I want to stop that.
Shelley, how do you deal with your failures?
I don't fail. No, I'm just
Boom.
kidding. Oh my god, I can't believe I did that.
Next.
So I have two kinds of failures, I think, which is one of the failures that are like my real failures are actually the easiest for me to deal with because I'm generally a pretty honest person. I don't really sugarcoat things, which can get me into trouble as well. But I think in the end, it has proven throughout my life to work for me that way. So when I have done something that I feel is a failure, the best way for me to deal with it is to just be really, really honest with both myself and then whoever, you know, might have been involved with it, like if it's a work thing. I think the other side of it, though, are my perceived failures that aren't really, which is the only time, and it's only been maybe twice in my life, and weirdly both recent, which I don't know if that means something because I'm getting older and maybe like my mental state is changing a little bit or what, but were two incidents where I actually had like what I perceived as were my failures that gave me anxiety, which I'd never experienced before. And for the first time in my life, I realized what it's like to go through that. I mean, I don't have it anywhere as bad as like Howie. I don't have anxiety attacks, but like there was this one moment where I was, you know, something had gone wrong. It hadn't gone the way I wanted it to go. And I was like kind of making myself believe, or my head was making myself believe that it was my fault. I had done something horrible, or it was just kind of making up stories about why I should be in fear right now because of something that I thought I had failed at. And, you know, it took me like 24 solid hours to not feel sick anymore. And, you know, Howie was like, that's just your head telling you. And I'm like, oh my God, it is just my head telling me that. But like, I can't stop myself from thinking that. And I think that that is like the core of mental illness and anxiety, is when your own sort of mental state is working against you and it's telling you things that are these perceptions that are just not real, and they're building fears in you and they're making you feel like you've failed, even if you really haven't. So long-winded, but like to me, there's like two sides of it.
Failures. It's kind of like one of those interview questions, and you say, oh, you know, my failure would be just I try too hard, you know. But strangely enough, it's funny because I called Howie, I spoke to Howie yesterday. I started texting him, freaking out, working on the last part of the album, and I'm just looking for some sort of like footing to just kind of end it the right way, because nothing sounded right, and I just wanted it to be something that I guess it probably wasn't or couldn't be, but it was fine. And it's just one of the, it's a mental thing. The whole thing is a mental thing, and it comes right back to the book. And it's
the book's fault, man. It's the book's fault.
It's this mental thing that just goes in the wrong direction. It just makes you feel like you're failing. You can't do it. So I tried my best just to do a walk away from it, because whatever you want to do is normally not exactly what's going to happen. So the failure right now at this point is that I have to learn to walk away from those things. And this album, this project, I will tell you, nothing in my life has ever made it clearer to me how to do it, how to walk away, and it has given me the opportunity to do it. Taking a step back, it's one of those things that when you work things too much, and it's a personal thing where you just kind of just rework things in your brain, and it's been an opportunity to break that habit, and or has helped me break a habit, or probably brought it out a little bit more, but it's been able to bring it out so I can make it disappear.
Specifically looking at Float, obviously you've been very successful in your career with your caricatures, with Terra Normal, marrying a wonderful, lovely wife that you have sitting next to you, and everything else in your life, as from a professional standpoint, has been successful. But in looking at Float, in putting this out there, do you consider this a personal success?
I think just from early feedback I've gotten, as far as being a work about, being a work of sequential art, I think so far I've been successful at doing what I set out to do. Every page is unique. Every page is challenging graphically. Every page uses the art style in interesting ways. There's many different art styles in it. I'm really showing a lot of my capability here. I wanted it to be a showcase also. Not only is it going to tell a story, but it is it's a graphic memoir. It is a comic too. It's an art book and a comic. I'm going to show you what I can do. I'm going to show you a full set of skills that I never got to implement in any of the other books. Mostly in Mr. Scoodles, it was probably showed off a little bit more. But you're going to see the full extent of what I can do graphically, because a lot of that art is lost when, this industry, if it's, the publicly traded companies and stuff like that, they don't care about that. They're selling, they're marketing logos and brands, and it's just to sell movie tickets and stuff. So I wanted to really focus on the art and do something, like the books that have inspired me, or I guess they're independent, but things. One of the first books I ever got was Mouse. Yeah. And that's such a unique story, and it's told with comic because he wanted to tell it in that format, It wasn't that he wanted to make a TV show. He wasn't doing that so it'd be a lead-in. He didn't make that comic because, he had a script and I can't get the movie made, so I'm going to make a comic. And I really wanted to do something that this isn't a TV show. This isn't a movie. This is art in this format for a specific reason, because I have, for the past 17 years, poured my soul into the art form. And whether I feel, part of the anger in me is that it's unrequited love, honestly. I mean, how could you not? I thought I've been shouting really loud, but so many people, you get a rejection letter that claims you're an unknown creator. And, that doesn't cue up with what you just said about me, so I appreciate it. I have a company saying I'm unknown and I have no track record, and yet, some people would believe I have had successes. So this is my answer to that. It's a fight, not only with anxiety, but it's a fight about that little voice in my head saying you're never good enough, you're not good enough, and the actual letters I got telling me I'm not good enough, when in actually truth, it's not that I'm not good enough. They just don't know me, and I'm just not famous. Mm-hmm. So this is what we're confronting, because I think since I started and since where we're at now, publishing has changed 100%. Yeah. To where, I can't. You don't have a YouTube show. I can't take a risk on publishing this. We're not friends. We didn't go to college. I don't know your dad, or you weren't. It's just like that. And so I talk about all of that. And I used to think that was like an excuse. It's just an excuse to say that. That's not how it really works. But when you get a letter saying that, I mean, it should fuel your fire to keep. Because I could quit. I mean, oh my God, I have daydreams about quitting. I mean, it's my fantasy like this, to be able to I can walk away from that. But I'm too committed, and I know they're wrong. I know the people that doubt me are wrong. I know it. And art, I think I can show it. And so now I'm showing it fully in this book. So it's really about standing up. So not only do you have anxiety, but you have these other... Anxiety loves rejection, loves it. It loves that it does that to me. It feeds on it. It's like, oh, this makes me stronger, you know, because you're letting him get to it, because then you can have an attack. So in this book, David gets a rejection letter, and this is a little bit about the story, and it sends him into the biggest anxiety attack he's ever had. And that's all based on truth, because that has literally happened to me. And when they say it's not personal, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. They get a rejection letter and they say it's not personal. Oh, it's very personal. I'm sorry, it's not just business. It's very personal, because this isn't a job to be an accountant. You know, and this isn't, you know, it's not. This isn't a customer service job. I'm putting art out there, and that's lost. They don't look at it as art. I looked at it as art. I made the mistake. I thought I was sending them art. They looked at it as, we got to move units, and, you know, and I understand that's their business, but along the way, the art got lost, if you look at it that way. So this is all in a response, and that's why we choose Kickstarter. Kickstarter is the people that have supported my Kickstarters in the past, and we've had 2 successful ones with Terranormal. It's because they believed in this idea that they can't see anywhere else. Yeah. And this isn't a book that you can't get in a store. You can't get, you can't get it anywhere else. This is specifically an edition made for Kickstarter. It's made for the backers of this, because honestly, they're not into telling a story from an unknown creator. You know, they're not. Like, I have a friend who was on a TV show, you know, and he said, if I put my name on it, we get that deal. That's crazy. That's crazy that it wouldn't make, that's the difference. Well, I want to tell this story, you know, I mean, he helps me too. He helps me understand that, because it hurts. It hurts to figure that out. So that's why we're putting this story out here, man, because people can make this real, and they can make it, you know, a physical thing that's unique. It's a exclusive collector's item that we're making. It's just for you. It's my personal story, and I've made it just for you. And because you know, you have to believe in it, you have to support it, and we all have to work together to make it happen. And that's what I like. I think that's way more personable. It's not cold, you know, like the other side of it, where even if you get a deal, they'll put it on a shelf and don't care. They certainly weren't going to let me have the album. You know, they weren't going to let me have a CD nowadays, you know, which I want, because I'm a child of the 90s, you know, as far as
can I have it on vinyl?
Yeah, well, that's, if we make, see, that's another stretch goal, which, believe me, we've daydreamed about it, because I collect vinyl. We've daydreamed. You never know. You never know. Maybe if people go, you know, nuts and help us really push it. I can tell you that we've got a lot of cool stretch goals, a lot of unique rewards, including I'm doing custom art for whatever you want, you know, black and white and color. We've got that. We've got my entire library. And we've also got, you know, a unique variant edition of Float, where Float, the cover is very calming with the blue, you know, and the water. And it's got this, you know, it's peaceful image in a way, and it makes you question. And then, so we have a variant edition, which is very limited, because we found out through the printer we could do this. It's going to have a all red cover, and it's going to be the anxiety version. Nice. So if you want, you know, the idea that anxiety is the villain, you can get this unique variant. So that's just a really cool thing that I haven't been able to offer before. So I've thrown myself even crazier trying to come up with these rewards. I mean, I think it's all because that's the subject, but I've put in as much effort into the rewards and doing the Kickstarter images, you know, as much as working on the book to make this really special. So I just hope that, you know, come tomorrow AM, that people see it and it clicks with them. Because so far, early buzz from people that have shown up for is clicked big time. So I hope that clicks on the major stage, and people take a chance dive into this unique story.
I almost don't even want to ask the last couple of questions there, Jacob, but I'm going to have to. So Victor, as a musician, you're professionally successful. You've had a lot of great work in the past, and I'm sure you'll create amazing work in the future. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely will say personally successful. It has to do with the content and what and the workflow that I create for myself. I choose projects that work for what I believe. This particular one obviously is something that I feel strongly about, and there's no better success than truly just doing things that hopefully do impact people. And the work you do is not meaningful unless it really does impact others. So this particular project has pushed me to a particular level that I've never been able to accomplish musically and creatively. And yeah, absolutely. I would say that there's a huge success in that, and there's a huge success in simply just being able to do your art and being able to live and exist doing your art. There's no better existence than that.
Nice.
I absolutely think on a personal level, like all said and done, that I've had an amazingly successful life. I mean, Howie has shown me so many new things in life since we met, and we get to do a lot of really cool stuff and meet amazing people, which is so much fun for me. In my career, I think that I've been incredibly lucky. Because most of the work that I do is centered around making an impact in some way, socially. So to work with Howie on a project like this is almost like, like the epitome of like perfect life, personal life and professional life meeting, because I care so much about social issues and, what I can do to help, and not just, get them out so that people start talking about them, like mental health. I think one of the biggest impediments to actually having a healthier, country and world is that it's so buried for people, and they have a fear to talk about it, with their spouse at work. They're afraid that it's just going to be held against them if they bring it up. So something like this is just so important, and it's like it's an amazing success for me just to be able to apply that to my personal life and have that, kind of meeting of what I'm really passionate about professionally and personally come together. It's been really, really unique and amazing.
The younger generation are looking at this book. They're going to look at Float. They're going to see the campaign. They're going to see the struggle that, of course, Howie, you're going through, and of course the main character is going through as well. And I truly hope it inspires them to say they need help. I hope it inspires them to find the help needed throughout their lives. And so they're going to see this book. They're going to become inspired to hopefully make the right decisions and choices. How can they then inspire the generation that follows them with this issue?
I think by getting help, by speaking to your doctor, by, with anxiety, the thing that helps the best is talk therapy. So by talking to a therapist, and you might not find the best one the first time. You might not find the best one the second time. But you're going to find someone that you will like and will help you. And getting, if you notice things, like I wish I would have been diagnosed earlier, because, when I was diagnosed, it was such I was so thankful because I had an answer. I finally knew what was wrong with me. I knew why. Now I know why these things happen. you know, and it still happens. It's not like, oh, that fixed it. I you know, fall victim to it every day, every week. It comes back, but you know, it's that keep fighting thing, you know, it's that spirit of not giving up. So what I hope is, if this does inspire, you know, the greatest thing is that it would inspire somebody and they'd go, I got to get checked out. Or they could say, hey, I think I know why, you know, we broke up. I think I know why our friendship ended. And they reach out to people, or they can understand if they see some of these symptoms in their own parents, you know, that can help. Because it's tough for people, like it's tough for Shelley and Victor being my friend and being my, you know, being my wife and stuff, dealing with me. I do a lot of things that are just not, you know, not considered normal. They're not, I see things in a different way a lot of times, you know, and it sucks. So if you give a heads up, hey, you know, this is why, I wish I could, you know, have known that earlier. Like, so for a fact that in grade school, you know, this is mentioned briefly in the book, but in grade school, I was tested for the gifted program. And during the testing, I hyperventilated. And so they didn't continue the test. Well, it really wasn't hyperventilating. It's the pressure of the clock ticking. And I was a young child, and it was a stranger in the room. Oh, it was a first anxiety attack. If only she was trained, you know, instead of just saying he had anxiety, he had hyperventilated, he's weak. We can't test him. I mean, my life would be different right now. I might have been then put into fully art classes, and that's a grade 1, you know. But I'm not saying the things after that. I still won art prizes, you know. I was still recognized. I had great art teachers in grade school. But I'm just saying, look at the effect that had. Look at that, because people were ignorant of what it is. I think we're more advanced now, you know, this was a while ago. I think now we know a lot more, but, you know, that's what I hope. I hope if somebody gets tested or has a chance like that and they're hyperventilating, they go, oh, it's an anxiety attack, you know, because it can happen when you're really young. That's what I would like to change, because it's just another thing. If it would have been caught in grade school, it would have been so much easier, because nobody caught it in college. You know, nobody caught it in high school, nobody caught it in college. I certainly didn't know it. Nobody caught it when I was in my 20s. You know, they finally caught it when I was in my 30s, you know, and that's late. Some people get diagnosed early. But I wish that if this brings out some attention, and it's in this form where it's like visual and it's you know, it's colorful, I hope. And I think the characters are very sexy, you know, like Anxiety's a sexy villain, and you're spicing him up because, you know, most people, I was talking to a friend, most people draw him as a dark cloud or this monster, or, you know, scribbles. And like, no, my Anxiety's charismatic. He's a rock star. He's sexy. You know why? Because I keep falling for him. So it's not a monster that I'm falling for, you know, he's he's overwhelming. He's sometimes who I want to be, you know. I want to be that, you know. I want to be. He's powerful, you know, and he can destroy things, and he has rage, and you know, and he's got power, but it's fleeting, and in real life, you know. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make this visually, you know, tell my story, show Anxiety that if, you know, show it in this way that people can go, oh, I see why he takes control. Look at him. You know, he's like an army leader. I see why he falls victim to this. You know, David can't really stop him when he shows up, because look how, you know, he's badass. So, you know, and there's fire all around him. So to put that, I hope that's its biggest thing. And with a new generation, I know they like comics. You know, younger people always have loved comics and always supported them. I liked comics when I was younger, and you still do. You grow up always loving it. Usually, people that are true fans don't abandon the medium, you know, because they know there's something magic that can happen. Movies can't do this. You know, TV can't do this. Other books, without the pictures, they can't do this. So I hope that this inspires them to then make the change in themselves, and they'll know, you know, if they ever see that in their kids or they see it in their friends, they can help them. You know, I've offered a lot of advice. I have friends that they knew I had this, so they would ask me, you know, and I've gotten calls from friends, oh, this happened to me. So I tell them, go see a therapist. You know what? and then they get diagnosed and helped. And now I have to go to them for help. Now I call them when I freak out. So that's what I want. I want like not necessarily a pay it forward, but a chain reaction of positivity.
I like that. That should be the slogan. Chain reaction to positivity.
There we go. I gotta go edit the Kickstarter again.
Yep. Sorry. Younger generation will hear your soundtrack, Victor. We'll see your animation, Shelley, become inspired. How do they inspire the generation that follows them?
I think the younger generation right now has got it. They have it a little tough. I think there are a lot of things going on in society, and I think we see so many more cases of all sorts of issues and autism and just mental issues and behavioral issues in school. There's something in their society now that is a little tougher. It's not a little tougher; it's a lot tougher now. And I think our the younger generation doesn't get a break at this point. I think it's almost become a joke with millennials, and now with even the younger ones, that it just, they don't get a break because of the circumstances that they live in, and it's tough for them, and I think this is going to, I'm hoping that this reflects and that this gives something to them that they can relate to, because it really truly is they have a tough time, and that, go ahead, Shelley, you go ahead. I'm a little.
I know. I mean, Victor, I'm just going to pick it up because you are 100% right. There's actually, here comes my professional side. There have been studies. The millennial generation suffers from a much higher incidence rate of depression and anxiety than any of the other generations coming before them. And I think that the cause of it is very much this sped up society and technologically advancing world, and in fact, there's been studies around the rate of technological advance and the fact that it has outpaced our ability to evolutionarily catch up. So our brains have literally fallen behind all of the information and conversations that are going on around us every day, and I think that it's just getting harder and harder each generation to follow because the gap is just widening, and I think that we've lost as a society, especially the first world countries who are so ingrained in social media and technology and daily lives, and we've all got our faces in screens 99% of the time. This ability to listen, this ability to reflect on ourselves and on others around us. And I think that if anything, a book like this is all about that reflection and remembering how important it is to just stop and think things through and listen to somebody else and listen to yourself. I think that if people feel like they are suffering from, depression, anxiety, and hopefully a book like this, getting the word out helps them recognize that, first of all, because I think so many people have gone undiagnosed in this world, and find help. I mean, just don't ever be ashamed. And then for the people who aren't, who feel like they've got, healthy minds in this world, just stop and listen and perceive, the people around you, the ones that you love, because to be honest, mental health, it's so hard when you're stuck in it to, get yourself out, and break out of that cycle. And it's really the people around them that they are the ones that can actually have the impact on them, and help them to figure that out and to get treatment. And so I think it's also that balance of not feeling like you've got to push somebody who might be suffering from mental illness into what you think they should be doing. You have to work with them and be willing to listen, and help them along their path, not just force them onto yours. So it's so important, that compassion and that reflection, and that, you know, taking a moment to listen to each other as human beings to overcome, you know, any, I think, mental illness. So hopefully this book, his story, all of us talking about it is just going to help to move that forward a little bit.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think that's going to have to end this particular interview with, of course, all three of you. But let me open up one last thing. Is there anything that I haven't brought up that you guys would like to share with those that are watching this?
I think the main thing, I think we brought it up, but the main thing is that the Kickstarter launches May 1, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and tons of rewards. Please just share and go to yourglassceiling.com for more info.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Howie, Shelley, and of course Victor for being on the show. Really appreciate it. I know we touched on a lot of great information, a lot of great topics overall. I'm glad that you were able to come on the show and you know, be open and honest as you always have been when you come on the show, and I really appreciate that. And of course, like you guys said, you know, go to yourglassceiling.com, look at the Kickstarter. I'm going to have a link in the show notes, which I'm going to take the time to edit tonight. This will be a first. I'm going to edit all of this stuff tonight so that you have this available for your Kickstarter campaign, because that's the type of guy I am for you. So there you go.
Thank you. You know, I love you, Kurt.
It's yourglassceiling.com/Kickstarter. Simple.
And of course, you can find this interview and a couple of other Howie interviews as well on tgtmedia.com, talking about Paranormal, talking about everything else that he's done. And of course, anything else you want to be on the show, or if you want to see the YouTube channel, if you want to bug me on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, it's all available on tgtmedia.com. Thanks again for listening and watching. Of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso, and tune in next week for another great interview with, who knows, it could be you.